Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market. This is our daily show from Monday to Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. BST, every day of the week, where we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to make money on the internet. I'm your host, B-Check. I'm joined by my legendary co-host, Legendary, the OG NFT collector, the airdrop extraordinaire, and the trusted Web3 advisor of artists, brands, and businesses. What an introduction. We're going to get into the show in just a moment. But before we get there, just a reminder, friends, nothing that any of us say is financial advice. This modern market is exceptionally risky. We do not know anything for sure. Please proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, how are you doing this Thursday, the 2nd of November?
Jim, I feel like I should be the one asking you the question how you are doing today. You seem to be in a very good mood.
Sometimes I just want to play with the syllables sometimes. Like there's so many syllables to play with, and I think that over the course of time, I'm not just going to say legendary. Like I've said it enough times. It's a lot of syllables, frankly. Um, and I might not be able to say all of them in the same way every single time because it's getting a little bit boring. We might have to
This
switch
is
it
a
up.
former English teacher speaking about playing around with syllables.
Yeah, exactly. Like you want to play with the emphasis, right? So
Mm.
one day you may be more legend, one day you may be more dairy, depending on,
See what you did there.
yeah. So it just
Good.
depends really where we want to place the emphasis on any particular day. How do you feel
You know,
about
you
that?
could
That
you
okay?
you could you could you could shorten it to one syllable. If you shorten it to ledge, then you don't need to worry about the emphasis any longer.
It's true. It's true. I could do that. How are you doing otherwise? How's your Thursday? How you feeling? How you feeling this
Pretty
Thursday?
good. I mean, I experienced a bit of FOMO. Again, everyone seems to be at conferences,
Yes, they
especially
are.
when we look at audience numbers. People are either in Hong Kong or still in Amsterdam. And
Hmm.
I'm still experiencing the same FOMO that I experienced yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't feel FOMO yesterday. Believe that's what I said at least. I did see it today, but the only thing I really feel FOMO about is when I see people post their meals. So I
Hmm.
saw some photos of some delicious breakfasts, and it was only breakfast that I get tempted by. If I see people post about dinner, if I see people post about drinks, if I see people post about events, I feel nothing. But breakfast, it's like, yeah, I would have liked to come to that breakfast. That's what I feel the most FOMO for. What about you?
I don't care about brekkie. Like, I'm very happy to get breakfast on like 6 out of 7 days or something, but I
Yeah,
would have more dinner FOMO for sure.
interesting. Dinner FOMO.
Hmm.
What about event FOMO? Like the things where people are out in the evenings having fun, like fun FOMO.
Having what?
FUN, fun. Do you
Hmm.
know about that?
It's a new concept. It's a new concept to me, having fun. I have fun when I look at the charts. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, I have fun about that as well, but I just try to, push it away to a corner of my mind to better be able to deal with it. It's my form of copium, I guess.
Your form of copium. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Let's get into today's daily dose of copium. But before we do that, before we get into the headlines and the price action, guys, please help us out by clicking that comment button in the right hand corner. Numbers are down because people are all over the place. We're also in the wrong time slot because we're usually 1 hour before on Eastern time. Please click the comment button right in the corner, retweet the space so we can get more people in here with all of us as possible. Maybe we'll discover some more people. And as always, if you want to follow along to the headlines and price action, it's in the snapshot, which is pinned up top. It has the details I'm about to share. Please do like it if you find that it brings you some value today. So let's get into it, starting with the price action. We have crypto up again. Bitcoin at 30, it's broken 35K. It's up 3%. ETH is just only up 2%, lagging behind at 1.8K. Solana, talked about it yesterday a lot, up 13% at 43.8. Ape up a couple of percent at 1.3. NFT volume healthy. Well, healthy compared to what it was before. Total 13 million. Blur 9.6. OpenSea at 2.9. Getting into today's headlines, can't wait to discuss. Number one, OpenSea announces updated collection pages with more customization. It actually looks pretty cool. Number two, Art in Motion Lab announces an ape casino and resort in Indonesia, which is the first casino authorized by the Indonesian government. That is awesome. That is so fun. Can't wait to discuss that. And finally, Adidas announces football collectible in partnership with Buggati for a crypto auction. Going to dive into some of the details there because there's some an interesting benefit for NFT holders. Getting into the floor prices and top sales, we have CryptoPunks flat at 47 ETH, Bored Apes at 30.4, down 3%, Mutants at 5.7, DGods at 3.1, down 3%, Captains at 5.7, Azuki's flat at 5.2, Penguins at 5.1, Moonbears 1.9, and Nouns at 27 ETH, mostly flat after a bunch of gains in the last few days. Top sales, we have Sam Spratt selling one of the skulls of Lucy called Foreshadow for 75 ETH. That's $138,000. And we have another CryptoPunk with Nerd Glasses selling for 46.87 ETH. That's $86,000. Legendary. That is the price action. Those are the headlines. What numbers are you enjoying here?
Definitely seeing Bitcoin keeping the rally, keeping the positive momentum, and seeing that ETH doesn't do that. Like ETH is not at the same level, and my mind hopefully connects those two in the sense that once we will see the ETF spot approvals coming closer for ETH and having more bullish news around that, the same momentum and sentiment that we've seen around BTC when that news was very, very palpable will come to life for ETH as well.
Sure. I want to show, I mean, you're kind of taking out of the mouth. I don't know whether you saw this tweet, but you're certainly taking inspiration from it. This was a tweet from OSF earlier this morning where he talked about ETH's underperformance, said ETH has underperformed BTC by 28% year to date. ETH has underperformed Solana by 185% year to date. You know, spot ETH ETFs are on the table, which has been the main driver of BTC. Wouldn't you long ETH? Question mark. Is that basically the kind of thinking that you were thinking just then?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, so OSF's tweet as well or post as well, but definitely agree with that. I think there are more drivers though to the price of BTC, but you could see that massive pump when the fake news broke that the ETF was approved, and that certainly did hype the market. And I just hope to see the same repeated for ETH.
I've got two points on this. One is that I guarantee after being through like one cycle, I bet there will be so many people, not because I'm a perfect trader, but I know that what people want to do right now is sell their ETH and go into Solana. And I guess what this is articulating, and I'm not saying that this is my position, but what OV is articulating is, look, that pump has happened. These few coins have outperformed by this amount. That means now ETH is now the underperformer and has got the room to run. So if you were stuck in ETH, which I know lots of people are, the idea is like, look, just chill. You missed the run. Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't chase it. Don't go chasing other things now. You're actually now sitting in the thing, which should, according to this thinking, be the next to go. What do you think about that perspective?
Yeah, 100% right. Like conviction is definitely an issue with many people in this space, right? You have a very, well, not you, but like many people have a very short-term horizon. Just seeing one headline number, trying to chase things. It just made the post a couple minutes before the show saying that 1-2 months ago, when the market was at its lowest, everyone was talking about, oh, we need to rebrand to docs, need to move away from the JPEGs. Couple people did follow through, but
Yeah,
now most of that doxing talk now that the market seems to recover has completely stopped, and everyone is super happy to be a JPEG again. Like,
yeah,
your investment hypothesis should be long term and should not be influenced by, oh shit, Solana is outperforming my ETH bags right now.
got
Do
to
I
get
move
in
over
there.
and catch the trend? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Maybe I've got a second point as well, but the one I wanted to go to next was kind of a counterpoint where I saw a funny tweet. I don't know if you saw this one. I hadn't thought about it like this, where like ETH is like the middle child. Like you've got Bitcoin, who's the first child, is like super proud, maybe he's loved most by the parents. Solana is this like youngest one, also gets a bunch of attention because they're youngest. Is there any chance that ETH just stays unloved in the middle without the attention required? What do you think about that analogy?
It's a cute analogy, but I don't think that this will be the thesis playing out for ETH, because or put it like that, if it is the middle child, then it's certainly the middle child outperforming everyone else in terms of ecosystem partnerships and everything that is being built on ETH or on related layer 2 solutions.
Yeah, I think it's more just a fun analogy rather than it being true. It's like, oh, okay.
I mean, although I don't have siblings, so I can't speak to that. So I don't know how it is to have older or younger sisters or brothers.
Yeah, that's another weird thing about us. We're so similar in so many ways, but also similar in that way. That was kind of strange to find out as well. Very good. That is interesting. A final point on this, where just kind of talking about trading, going in and out of positions. One of the things I've seen, I know obviously people are trying to chase, talked a little bit about people trying to chase things, how to catch the next trend. One of the ways I think about this, which people might find interesting, is like if you try to consider what your max upside is of a trade, say on these meme coins, for example, say you put a few $100s in and you think, okay, that might 10x, maybe. So say you put a few $100s in and you might 10x, you're making something between 3 to 7 to 8K, maybe, depending on what you put in. And then it makes you wonder, when you think about it like that, like what's your max upside? Then you start to think, well, okay, I run this business. I do this every single day. If my max upside was 3 to 5K and you're working on this business, which is actually a recurring revenue, not just the modern market, but also the snapshot and various other things I do, you start to think, well, why don't you allocate that time to the business? Because it's got bigger upside. Like you can create 2 to 5K of extra value on a recurring basis. And you don't have to hope that the market's going to send with you. You could just create that by strategic partnership, working with people properly, keep putting out good stuff. And I just think that's a far, like when you think about it versus the opportunity cost of what that 2 to 5 to 6K could look like, or where that would come from, and you kind of compare it with the business or the potential business, it makes me think less that I need to be involved because it's not a big enough upside for me to want to participate. I'm just kind of talking off the top of my dome here. I wonder if that is an interesting perspective for people, and would love to hear your thoughts as well on that. Legendary.
Love the wording saying to talk out of the top of your dome. I actually had a very similar conversation with a friend of mine who put it in a very spicy way. He said, look, I have my ETH bags. I'm happy with them. But honestly, I'm not buying more ETH because the max upside of 4x from here doesn't really get me excited, doesn't get me out of bed. I'm either looking to build a very sustainable business, and in terms of the trading opportunities, definitely chase higher upsides than a potential 4x for ETH when ETH were to hit 7.5-ish K.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a vibe. Like it's just something I've been thinking about a lot now. Like if we're considering, is the market back? Is this something, even if it's not right now, right? Like it's coming at some point in time, I think. And then just trying to internalize, where do I stand? Am I going to go full blown back to trading in 2021 like I did then? Or now that we've just got this platform on the modern market as well as the snapshot stuff, do I just think, well, I'll be able to make money via that, and that's probably the best thing. And I'm definitely leaning into the business. So I hope that is an interesting conversation for people to reflect on how they want to make money on the internet in the next year to 2 years, because ultimately that is why we're here, or at least that's one of the top reasons why we're considering doing what we're doing. And so just, but we don't have unlimited time. So we have to figure out like, what is the opportunity cost? Where should we be allocating our time and attention? And that's quite important. Legendary, any final thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think also from a creator's perspective, It is interesting to observe that like many people limit themselves to, doing a sponsored thread, maybe taking a pay to speak on a space as a speaker. While there's so many more things that you could do. Look
Mm,
at Alex's building, chasing that domination with the job platform things that he's building out. Recently talked to a very successful company focusing on spaces management,
mm.
managing the spaces for some of the most successful and biggest spaces in the world, and doing easy six figures a month in retainers. There's like so many more things so you could position yourself as a creator other than just going for sponsored posts and sponsored content that I also deem to be more sustainable.
I agree. I think we need to do something separate on that very topic because me and you are doing like in the process of doing very well in that respect, and I think that would probably be valuable to people at some point in time. But it's not the main focus of this show. Let's consider that moving forward. Final question on this from NFT aficionado on YouTube said, "You say ETH people sell their ETH and go to Solana. If they had art on Solana, they could reap gains. ETH has more art on it." And the middle child ETH is way ahead on art. I do take that point. I like that point actually. I like the idea that there's just more economic activity on ETH. When you hold ETH, you have more options of things to do with ETH, which means you can make more ETH. You hold ETH, you make more ETH by buying things with ETH, and then like that economic cycle can start moving. So I definitely like that idea. I'm glad you made that point because that's something I do believe too. Legendary, a thought on that before we move on to our first headline, which is Adidas partnership with Bugatti.
Look, I'm wondering why that is the case. Like I tried to collect art on Solana. I know there were a couple platforms, one of which was I think exchange.art. Collected a bit there. It did shut down at the end. If this is the right name, might be mistaken as well. But why did art never made it to Solana at the same scale than it did on ETH?
This is so easy to me. ETH L1 is where premium art will live. I think it's done.
True,
I
but
think
why? I mean,
because it's expensive.
we've seen ordinals managing to capture more of the art market
I
than Solana,
I
with
think
Yuga Labs moving there and other projects being there.
I
But
yeah.
it's just, I don't know. I don't have a good answer as to, yes, I mean, there's obviously the case that premium art lives on ETH, but like just, from a philosophical curiosity, why is that the case?
I think Solana is too cheap. Like it's too cheap. It's the equivalent of saying why is why are the fine art galleries in Mayfair in London? Why are they not in, you know, why are they not in East London? I think it's that. It's the same thing that happens in the physical world happening here, where you have to go to the most high premium place in order for the thing to be premium. So I think ordinals will be fine as well. There will be high value stuff there on Bitcoin because it's premium. I think ETH1 is ETH1 is Mayfair. Ordinals is, I don't know, Chelsea or something. And Solana, I don't want to be too disrespectful, but it's it's somewhere east. It's somewhere East London. Funky, your hands raised. Would love to hear your thoughts on that analogy of like trying to turn these blockchains into actual places and thinking why certain value accrues to different places.
Thanks, Bcheck. GM, everybody. I think that I don't know the London geography well enough to understand the metaphor, the analogy you're just laying out. But I will say that I think it just really boils down to first mover advantage, right? Ethereum has sort of captured the market with its dominance. It's the place, I think, when you think about how NFTs really popped off, in 21, it was the place where all the action was happening, truly happening, where all the bigger collections that started to shine. I remember CryptoPunks, I think during DeFi summer, the floor was like 3, 4, 5 ETH or something like that. ETH was like a couple $100. And look at where we are now. So I think there's sort of some provenance that's being established with like this is, look at to your point, the Rafik Anadals, the chrome squiggles, all the things that are considered as high art, all are on ETH. And I think it's just network effects. I think it's that first mover advantage. Does it remain to be seen that this will still be the place in a decade, right? I remember, I'm old enough to remember when everybody thought Netscape was going to be the browser that everybody would use in the 90s. And here we are today. No one probably even knows what Netscape is. So, first mover advantage doesn't guarantee a place of future success, but I think for the time being, ETH has established its dominance so much that, like, even us, we're Polkadot natives and we have the most successful collection. We're talking about moving to ETH, like reminting the collection and just redistributing to the holders, because we know we're going to capture more value over there
Yep.
and more interest. And I think Solana, I don't want to be too tough on Solana. It's clearly moving into that place where it's going to be seen maybe as the third biggest chain, right? It's very fast, it's easy to use, it's super cheap. With the Fire Dancer stuff coming with these light clients, is it going to, create other kind of opportunities? Remains to be seen, I guess. But I
Yeah.
get your point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Solana is awesome, to be fair. I just think it's not that premium place. And I think you have made the reasonable point as well. First mover advantage is also very helpful. So that's definitely gone some way into securing the position. And then I think beyond that, the geography analogy of this being the premium place, I think will have some weight as well. Legendary, let's get into the first headline. Glad we managed to discuss some of those things first up. Let's get into the Adidas Bugatti headline. So the cool thing about this is that there's a football collectible in partnership with Bugatti. It's going to be a crypto auction, and there's going to be there's only going to be 99 carbon fibered these football boots, engineered for speed and lightness. The auction starts on November the 8th, so it's a bit of time from now, with benefits for NFT holders. The question is, well, what are the benefits? And this is where I think it would be an interesting discussion for us to kind of discuss, well, is this a good benefit? So there's only 99. The minimum bid starts at 0.2 ETH. Well, you have to scroll down and see, okay, it looks kind of cool. I don't know. You said you're not a big football person, Legendary, but I am, or I used to be at least. These are definitely cool boots. I don't know if they're for wearing because there's only 99. So I think this does go into that collectible category. And because of the partnership with Bugatti, I suspect this is like the type of person that would go for Bugattis. I think this is probably very collectible, actually. Hadn't really reflected on that before, but I think it probably is. So I guess two questions. One, what do you think of the collectability? But two, what do you think of this benefit, which is that the token holders will get an exclusive 10% premium added to their bidding price. So when submitting a bid for the individual auction, the smart contract automatically adds a complimentary 10% increase of the holder's bid without having to pay for that increase of the bid to increase competitiveness. So if you hold either the Adidas NFT, the Strike, maybe the Bugatti NFT or the Asprey Bugatti NFT, you get that added 10%. So two questions. One, what do you think of the collectability? Two, what do you think of that 10% boost for your bid for this collectible?
So first of all, I do have to disclose I am an Alts by Adidas holder. I am pretty happy with what they did so far, but this drop I don't like at all, to be honest. First mini rant that I have to get out: the website is terrible. You cannot read the dark blue on black, the dark blue font on the black background. It just hurts my eyes to read it.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it's really connected to the Alts by Adidas project and to what they've been doing. Like, this is just, it is a nice partnership, don't get me wrong, like Bugatti obviously being a big brand, and it's a very cool partnership to see that, what do you call it, football shoe come to life and limited to 99 pieces. All very nice, and of course it's cool to do that as an auction, but I just don't see what that has to do with Alts by Adidas. And it's just marketing to them, hey, don't you want to participate in the auction? We're going to add a 10% premium to you if you're bidding, so that you have an incentive to bid for it. But it feels a bit disconnected. It feels a bit random in the greater scope of things of what they're currently doing. So that's the main reason why I don't like it.
Well, that's a great point. And I saw one of the comments on the tweets to kind of suggesting maybe something similar, which was like, well, what's this got to do with what we're doing? What have they been doing, and why do you think this is like so off base? Because I guess what you're suggesting, and maybe this is a reasonable thing to think, is that they've created this community. Maybe they're off doing something, but then in order to sell, like basically whenever they've got a Web3 product now to sell, they've just got this community to sell to it, with not really taking into account, is this for this community specifically? Like, is this a community of football players? Is this a community of Bugatti lovers? Or is it a community of Adidas clothing wearers? Like, what is that community that's being created? Does this necessarily fit? Or is it just being treated as, well, whatever Web3 partnership we come up with now, here are some buyers?
But it's not even a Web3 partnership. Like, you could do that as a limited drop and auction it however you want. It's just, do it on ETH and auction it off, because you probably reach another target audience there, but there's no Web3 native component to it. And
Well, it's in crypto. The auction's in crypto.
Yeah, the auction's in crypto, but that's my point. You could have done it in euro as well and just, get over with it. There's no point to do that in crypto specifically, other than wanting to market to your holders, wanting to market to the Buggati NFT holders, knowing that they might have a higher appetite to bid on one of those 99 shoes. But really, the alt Adidas, the dynamic NFTs evolving, all the storytelling that went on with them, the digital experience was pretty cool. I get it from the standpoint that if you have collections, then you might want to give your holders early access, but I just don't think that it would be the right thing to, as you said it, not that you suggested that you should be doing it, but just stated the fact that in essence they could just take every Web3 partnership or every drop that they do and market it to the Web3 holders and be like, by owning this NFT, what you are allowed to do, quote unquote, is to bid on everything and buy everything we release, and you might get a benefit, a discount or a premium added to your bid, which ultimately is a discount. So I just don't think that this would be the most exciting value proposition.
Yeah. I think it's challenging. I think I'm definitely in that camp on some level. Maybe because I actually like the look of these, I'm a bit more tempted by it. And I think, like, okay, that is kind of cool. But I guess it's one of the limitations, like what actually can be done. Ultimately, they do need to move product. Getting an extra 10% is probably a nice thing. As you say, they could have done this in euros, right? They could have done it in euros. They could have done it in dollars, but they chose to go crypto, and they tried to provide some utility. Now, I think that utility is an extra 10%. Maybe that's not enough. Maybe that's not cool enough. But I guess the point of doing it this way is because they do know they have these super fans, because they're alts by Adidas holders. And so they want to try to give them something. Because if you think about it, if they didn't do it with crypto, they would be doing this. And it would just be open to everyone. But here they're able to target a particular group and say, look, we know you're our super fan, so if you want to participate, you get this additional thing. But of course, if you don't, then don't. Maybe someone else is going to buy it. Maybe Bugatti owners and fans are going to want to buy this themselves, who have nothing to do with Adidas. But it's just to try to provide some utility. So I don't know. I take the criticism, and in fact, it was me suggesting it, right? Like the fact that you've got this community, you can just sell whatever you want to them. But at the same time, I do wonder, like, it is an attempt to try to provide something to people. I don't know if it's enough, but I can see some benefit in it, particularly if you see that and you're like, oh, I actually like that, because I'm, as a football player, and if you know how much football boots cost now, I remember when I was young, they started to go over like 100, 150 pounds. And then they started going crazy. Like after I stopped, I'm pretty sure these premium boots can cost like 200, 300 pounds now, which is completely ludicrous, but that's how much they cost. So I think if you like this, it might actually be a nice thing. But as you say, do you like it or not? That's the question.
Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, in essence, I do like them. But even if you look at the comment section under the drop, it seems to be very, very mixed. There's a couple who, like, the positive feedback that you get on it is that they look cool, but nobody really seems excited about the way that the drop works. And the drop mechanisms are the most criticized if you look at the more critical comments.
Yeah, I take that point. So I think it's been a bit of a mixed reception ultimately. I think we've quite clearly communicated both sides of the thing here. I think we did a nice job of that. So up for everyone else to make a decision. I would just say that at point 2, that's just probably how much these cost in real life. Like point 2 is what is that now? Okay, it's approaching $400. I mean, I think that's just how much football boots cost now. So you're getting a collectible for that. I suspect it will go higher than that. That would be my opinion.
So will you place a bid? Sorry, will you place a bid on them?
I mean, I'll check. I mean, I'm a bit out of touch with how much football boots cost these days, but I'll give a quick check. And if they've kind of been inflating the way everything else has been inflating, I can't see them being any less than that, like the top ones. So the fact this is a Bugatti Adidas collectible, I think that's a very fair place to start the bid. It would be my instinctive opinion without checking the market. That would be my instinct. So I would check and then maybe give it a go. Yeah. But I think it will go higher, to be honest.
Yeah. And they will also trade on the secondary because you get the digital shoebox first before you can claim it, and you can trade the NFT of the claim.
Interesting. Good point. Yeah. I'll keep an eye on it. I'm gonna do some research first though, see what the general football shoe market is like. But yeah, very interesting. I think we expressed both sides. Let's move on to the next headline, which is to do with OpenSea. Legendary, do you want to take this? Do you want me to take it? How are we doing this one? It's kind of big news.
Happy for you to introduce it, and I'm going to change the title in the meantime.
Sounds good. So OpenSea has made some pretty cool updated collection pages for projects. I think they've made some pretty needed updates. In essence, or in a summary, these are the things that they have done. They've said that now you can have flexible text, image, and video modules to showcase your project and brand. You have the ability to feature NFTs and highlight related collections. You can update roadmap, team, and FAQ sections, and you can have the drop info all in one place. I think you don't really get a sense of what that means until you see it. So I'd recommend, if you do want to see it, either go to the tweet. You can, well, it's in the snapshot. You can click on OpenSea in the snapshot up top, and you can see their pinned tweet about it. It does look cool. The modular way of doing things seems to give you a bit more creativity, where you can say like, right, I want the drop information to go here. I want some images to go here, and I want the team members to go here. Like, it seems cool that you can customize it in a better way. So I think that was really cool. And then the other thing I just kind of liked, I'm pretty sure you can probably do this already, but the fact that it said explicitly you can, and there's a part in the video where it says like you can update your team information. Because of our conversation with Sam yesterday, NFT Stats, talking about like scams and anonymous people just like rugging things, I think it would be nice if NFT teams or the teams behind projects were a bit more prominent, and it was almost built in to the collection page, like who is going to be there. Like, it's a section that you have to fill out. It has to be a bit more prominent, because I think ultimately you're not just betting on collections here, you're betting on people. And so it would be nice to make sure that those people are highlighted properly. That's the headline. Those are some first initial thoughts from me. Legendary, what did you think? What stood out to you? And what are your thoughts on it?
As much as I'd love to dunk on the recent OpenSea updates, this actually is a good one, and it's a much needed update. We spoke about brand loyalty and how difficult it is for a marketplace to build brand loyalty with its user base. We spoke about how one of the remedies could be to have a very good, search function that helps you to see.
Yes.
I don't know, you have this kind of gaming NFT in your collection. Maybe these other collections, like the Amazon kind of logic, could be interesting to you. And also having more info on the project, having more info on the roadmap, on the team, on the FAQ, being able to customize it more. That's like more in touch with your brand, just to have a more pleasant user experience for people who actually can learn something about your collection, have more customized info about that collection, what it is currently about. I don't know, talking about Web3 gaming, Skyborn comes up with a new gameplay teaser, and a couple quests that you then can do in a playtest or whatever it is, and then you have that info neatly featured on the collection page, would definitely be a big step forward. So it is a good update by OpenSea. Nothing to dunk on, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. I did have Sir Joey, who's in the audience with us, one of the founders of Chimpers, asking if in any aspect of this update, does that mean they're going to be respecting royalties? And the answer to that is I'm not 100% sure. However, my understanding, and this is something that people need to check, is that there were collections who launched with OpenSea not too long ago, like Broadside, which is run by one of my friends, Vector Meldrew, who's a really cool artist. And I'm pretty sure the reason why they decided to launch with them was because they wanted royalties protected and they wanted it like baked in. And so therefore, no matter where they went, no matter where those NFTs were traded, you would have the royalties protected because of the way they launched in whatever they're doing behind the scenes to make that guaranteed. And you'll actually notice, I was checking out collections over the weekend and I checked out Mochaverse by Animoca Brands. And it seems to not be the case that every project has gone to zero on royalties. Like the Mochaverse collection on Blur has this little sign in the top right hand corner and it says restricted. And I think I can't remember if it said restricted, but something like restricted. And it basically means that those royalties are being enforced even on Blur. And I wonder, I don't know how it's done technically. I don't know if that's Animoca using their power in the ecosystem. But I basically think my understanding is there is a way to make sure that you can still have royalties enforced. And launching on OpenSea is also one of the ways to do that, I think. Any thoughts on that, Legendary? Can you confirm that? Am I talking nonsense? Is that fair? What are your thoughts on that? That's definitely my recollection of how things have gone recently.
Yeah, that you're correct about that, and there are standards to enforce royalties across platforms, across marketplaces, but I don't know how this will be in line with OpenSea's revamped royalty policy that I think will come into effect some point next year. I mean, we talked about it on the show, but I just don't recall the details at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So that was the only additional question I think we had on that. I think that's, yeah, as you say, a good update, an interesting update, one which people will like, having a bit more customization. So let's move on. But before we move on to the final headline for the day, we want to get into the Web3 Roundup to get you up to speed with what else has been happening in the last 24 hours, as well as the Creator Corner. There's a lot of good stuff happening, it's particularly on the art side. Number one, as always, this is in the snapshot. It's pinned up top. Number one, Xcopy mints 250 identical NFTs called Remnants. These appear to be the identical pieces which should be for his super rare Genesis Pass holders. But unlike other Genesis Pass drops, these seem to be identical at the moment. Number two, Ether announces anime figurines. The price is up 10% in 24 hours to 0.11. You remember we discussed the Ether mint some time ago. The price is quite a bit lower than it was back then, but nice to see that the community seems to be excited about that. Next, the official poster of ATP Tour Tennis finals to be sold on Polygon. That's pretty cool. Some context from Carl is that they're going to be sold for $50 on Polygon. So again, Polygon getting some really great partnerships. Number four, ApeCoin announces partnership to help creators make memes and GIFs. Great for creators. People are understanding the playbook. You got to let people create virally with your content. Getting into the Creator Corner, number one, Untitled by Grant Yun to be sold by Phillips Art as part of Contemporary Art Day sale in New York. Number two, ACK announces a new collection, Worthy, with Avant Art. And finally, Magic Eden announces the first cohort of projects for its creator fund. It includes the Chads Project, Legion, Villains, Cake and Guard, and Amber Vittoria, who is an awesome artist. So they had a big fund. I think it was $1 million fund. I don't know if all of that is being deployed in this first round, but there's a lot of money to support promising and prominent creators get onto Polygon in some way and onto Magic Eden. Other Magic Eden news, just randomly, not in the snapshot, but I saw they're the main sponsor of ApeFest as well. So big news there too. That is the Web3 Roundup with a focus on the creator side as well. Legendary, let's get into the final headline.
Let's do it. Do you want to set it up?
I will. Thank you very much. So this is just really, really cool. This is like one of the coolest pieces of news that I've heard in a while. It's a little bit random, like kind of off the wall, but it's just super cool. So Art in Motion Lab are excited to announce, this was announced yesterday, that they've signed a memorandum of understanding with Buckingham Holdings, Indonesia, and the city of, I'm going to struggle to pronounce that. Do you want to try Legendary or shall I?
Pangkal Pinang. I'm completely butchering it.
Oh, that's pretty good. It's actually quite phonetic, so it's not that difficult. Pangkal Pinang to introduce Ape Casino and Resort in Indonesia. This will mark the historic milestone of being the first casino authorized by the Indonesian government. So I think there's two really cool things happening here. One is that there's going to be an ape casino and resort. So just number one, like as an idea and as a concept, that sounds to me like one of the most ambitious things that any Bored Ape person in the ecosystem has tried. Like I know that there's people who've created products, put apes on it, tried to do coffee or I don't know, other products, beers, other things like that. This appears to me to be one of the most ambitious projects. So I think it's really cool from that perspective. And then number two, the reason why I think it's so significant and impressive as well is that they've convinced a country, according to this tweet, right? I'm assuming this tweet is correct. This is the official tweet from Art in Motion Lab. They've managed to convince a country which has never authorized a casino to authorize a casino in Indonesia. So that is just absolutely insane. I think it's really, that must have taken a huge amount of work behind the scenes and connections and administration and organization to get that deal over the line and figure out how to do that, particularly when it's something for the first time ever. It's hard enough organizing that stuff in an environment where it's been happening for over and over, but to do that when where's somewhere where there's no precedence for it, I think is really impressive. So yeah, those are the two key aspects that are most interesting to me. What are your thoughts, Legendary?
It is a pretty impressive thing. I mean, if you know a bit about Indonesia and how strict they are with their gambling laws, that they don't have legal casinos, poker rooms, betting shops, bingo, nothing of that is or was possible in Indonesia. And now coming from the Web3 space, which is also in the regulatory limelight of so many countries in the world and has its own challenges. So it already would have been impressive if, Indonesia would come up with a Web3 friendly policy working together with Art in Motion, but pushing that even further to change their stance on gambling, which has been well established for years and years and years. And coming from that Web3 direction is insane. It's literally insane if this will be built and if this comes true.
I mean, it looks amazing. Like, look at these photos. Like, imagine that with Ape Casinos, like this beautiful green scenery right on a beach. The hotel just a few 100 feet back from the beach, swimming pool, perfect blue ocean, huts going out into the ocean. It looks amazing. And go on.
And even if you do a bit of a Google search on that, yes, it does look amazing on gambling in Indonesia, and go through some of the most recent news, you will see that also online gambling is a thing that they don't like, where foreign gambling websites are blocked. And they very recently, as of October 10th, did a crackdown on that and banned a couple thousand bank accounts who they suspected to be connected to online gambling and using foreign gambling websites. So this is a complete 180, a complete change of policy, and this is marveling me. Like, how do you get that done? Needs probably top tier relationships to even get into the position to be able to talk to someone about that.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I would love to know all of the mechanics of how to get that type of deal sorted. I'm just going to have a look to see if there is any further context. But I see, Funky, your hand is raised. Would love to hear your thoughts on this new ape casino that's going to be in Indonesia.
Yeah, I completely concur with you guys. I think it's especially, I was a geography teacher for 6 years, and Indonesia is the largest Muslim country in the world, which many people do not realize. They often guess something in the Middle East. So, and gambling, of course, is a huge prohibition from a religious standpoint. So, I think to Legendary's point, to your point, B-Check, it is extremely impressive with the kind of cachet that clearly the ape and Yuga Labs people have to have that kind of relationship building to get something like this across the line and have a casino. I mean, it's still blowing my mind just thinking about it. And does it mention, because I couldn't see the pictures or whatever, does it say which island? Because if it's Bali, that also might make a little bit more sense, because that island is primarily Hindu compared to all the others in the Indonesian chain. So I didn't know if that had anything to do with it. So I was just curious if it said, like, I know you tried to sound out the name, but I didn't know if it was on Bali itself.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's Bali. If it was Bali, I think they would have said a bit more explicitly, and it would have been way easier to pronounce and say. And I think we will have been a bit more familiar with it. So no,
Very true.
Not Bali. But yeah, I mean, I take your point. I agree with everything you just said. It's very, very significant. I was just doing a bit of digging on their Twitter. They said more than a month ago, they welcomed a new chief strategy officer to the team, Arben Kane, an arbiter in the world of technology and a relentless challenger against the limitations of the human condition, a serial founder, an experienced entrepreneur with 20 years of experience in technology and venture. That doesn't necessarily, I mean, sounds great, sounds very cool. It doesn't, no real clues there as to how they managed to establish a casino in a country which has never had a casino. But you might be familiar with Legendary. I'm almost certain you'll know, but for the audience as well, there's this it's Crypto Painter who's involved in this as well. They've said we're opening Ape Casino and Resort in Indonesia. This will be a historic milestone. And Crypto Painter is this crypto artist who's been painting with digital photo brush, and I think they've been really popular. They've sold all kinds of cool pieces of art. So someone that's been in the ecosystem for a long time. Just checking, Legendary, like, were you aware of Crypto Painter? Do you know them? Do you know their work? And what are your thoughts on their involvement in this as well?
I've seen them on the timeline, but I'm not enough familiar with the work to have any thoughts that I could connect to the casino project.
Sure.
I was trying to look up, however, where that Pangkal Pinang city is exactly.
So I guess the next question to really ask, which I think is the big question, right? Because I don't think there's been anything like this, anything as ambitious as this. Look, you've had consumer products built with this Made by Apes banner, underneath this Made by Apes banner, where people say you can put the ape on, you're going to be part of this address book or part of this group of people who are making things almost officially in the Bored Ape ecosystem. And then you've got your 10,000 first true fans potentially to consume your product. But that demand can be, it's online demand, isn't it? Like, look, I will order your thing, you can send it to me. And it can probably actually exist with 10,000 people on some level. Of course, you want them to market it, you want it to go bigger. But to take on this scale of a task, I suspect 10,000 apes cannot populate the casino and hotel all at one time. Well, they probably can do it all at one time, but they're not going to, are they? And even if they did on one particular occasion, say Ape Fest was there one year, which, I mean, that would be pretty nuts and pretty fun. But then the point is they need to create all of this demand outside of the traditional ecosystem. Um, what are your thoughts on that? Is that possible?
And
Is this the
outside of
most ambitious
Indonesia.
thing?
I
Yeah,
think the
exactly.
main point is outside of Indonesia as well, because you certainly won't have locals playing there,
Yeah.
because this will definitely be deemed illegal, and you will have a similar situation like you have it on the Maldives, where you get alcohol on the resorts, etc. But obviously you are banned. It's also the Maldives are a very strict Muslim country, and the
Yeah.
resorts are mostly banned for locals. So you would have to create a completely foreign demand for that casino to get people to travel there.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've obviously seen places like Macau managing to do that, to create tourism around a city that's based on gambling, really, which is a more recent thing than Las Vegas, obviously. So it is possible, but this is the only angle that I could imagine that Art in Motion was pitching to Indonesia, is that, we will do this to just promote tourism in that region, and we think that we can get all of the Web3 community there. They are all degens. There's a couple 100,000 people left in this market. If we go by wallet addresses, 10% will come, so we'll get 50K people every year, and then we'll make it bigger than that by targeting other travelers who would go to Las Vegas or Macau as well.
Interesting. You made it a good point there, though, where you mentioned Macau as a kind of gambling hotspot. The thing is, in those scenarios or in those places, one of the reasons, even why Vegas became big, is because you don't just have one place that opens up and that attracts everyone. You had the strip with multiple places opening up, is my understanding. So you had a variety of options. People would have a reason to come because there's more than one thing, right? You're not stuck in one place. You've got a bit of excitement, a bit of variety. Do you think it could, something like this can sustain itself when it's just isolated? Is it trying to do a different kind of model where it's like, look, we're actually a resort and we're an all-in-one thing, so therefore you don't need to know that there's another casino down the road and there's another casino down the road and there's another one for some other type of entertainment. It could be all in one. Or do you think the precedence for this is actually, look, Macau, Vegas, other places of that nature, you need a few more. Maybe that could be down the road. We don't know. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think they definitely would see it as a pilot project. I think that it would work better if you had more resource like that, but I just don't know where they would strategically want to have them, because I did look up where that city Pangkal Pinang exactly is. It isn't one of the biggest Indonesian islands, but the interesting part about it is that the local population is mostly people who migrated from the Chinese region of Guangdong. So it is mostly people with Chinese roots who are living there. China, again, is big on gambling. You certainly wouldn't put that resort casino in the most religious part of Indonesia. That wouldn't be a good idea. So probably the play is to start with one resort and see if you have other places that could be strategically interesting to have something like that. I don't think necessarily that they want to build the next Macau there and go resort after resort after resort.
Interesting. Yeah, very, very interesting discussion. I definitely think it's super significant, and I just praise it for its ambition and the fact that you're able to get that over the line. Like I can't underscore more how impressive it is to flip a country's underlying position on a particular topic. Clearly, Indonesia did not have gambling before, did not have casinos. Well, not saying they didn't have gambling, but they clearly did not have casinos in this way. And this group of people has managed to flip it. That is an incredibly powerful thing to be able to do. And I praise the ambition and the fortitude it probably takes to get something like that over the line. Legendary. It's been another fantastic show. We've run out of time. Funky, I appreciate you got your hand raised. We've just snuck out of time there. Well, really appreciate your thoughts today. As always, hope we can hear from you again on the next show. But that's it for today, guys. Have a wonderful day. Take care. It's been a great discussion. We will see you back at the same time on Friday, because we do not stop on Fridays. We keep going. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.